We are not yet out of the woods as it pertains to the rains. For the next several days, the weather forecast shows unstable conditions as Tropical Storm Eta moves further away from the country. We implore you to be careful on the roads, drive, walk and ride with caution. Remember, the island's level of vulnerability has increased due to the previously damaged infrastructure as well as significant ground saturation. Hi there, welcome to another edition of Jamaica Magazine. I am Adrian Atkinson and we are encouraging you to be safe. Stay with us, we have lots in store for you today on the show.
Whenever you hear the following tone, the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, will be giving information on an emergency situation affecting the island. Please be on the alert and listen to your radio and television for further information. This was a test of the emergency alert system, brought to you by ODPEM.
How would you want to be treated if you were diagnosed with COVID-19? Not like this.
Them will talk how I'm wicked and if it dead and they behave like I am the one that created the virus. All my friends as well that were positive, them going through even worse than what I'm going through. Persons are calling police on them as well.
Do not allow your fear of COVID-19 to rob you of your humanity. There is no need to shun or victimize persons with the disease or those on the front line.
To mistreat persons that do have it, it's not a good feeling. We don't cause this on ourselves.
We really need to cut the hate and work together as a country, as communities to overcome.
Let us be understanding with those affected and support each other. Be kind. End the stigma.
Good day, I'm Lorraine Mendez and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, November 3. The Ministry of Health and Wellness says it will be increasing its vector control program to minimize the threat and risk of dengue in light of continuous rainfall across the country. Portfolio Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says an expanded fleet of vector control vehicles and workers will be deployed in communities.
It's very important that while we are confronted by the challenges of COVID, we do not lose sight of the public health threat that the Aedes aegypti mosquito and by extension dengue represents. The team is on the ground and based on what I see here, a summary of vector control activities. Since September 30th, 2020, I am told that the team has visited almost 2 million premises. Says 1.998. They have found Aedes aegypti breeding sites in 187,000.
Minister Tufton was speaking on Thursday during a tour of the field hospital being built at Falmouth Hospital. He said it was important that all Jamaicans play their part by searching for and destroying mosquito breeding sites in and around homes and properly covering water stored for use. Meanwhile, the COVID-19 field hospital being constructed on the grounds of the Falmouth Public General Hospital in Trelawney is on track for completion by November 30. The Health and Wellness Minister says the foundation for the facility has been completed despite setbacks caused by heavy rains.
I'm told that the rains come almost daily and so it has somewhat slowed down the process. Although I understand that from the contractor, from the team here, that the project is still on target for end of November for the building to be put up, at which point, of course, the internals will be put in place.
The 36-bed facility is one of 4 field hospitals being established across the island to provide 152 additional bed spaces to facilitate the treatment of persons with COVID-19. The House of Representatives has passed new electricity regulations to modernize and transform the electrical inspection process in Jamaica. Minister of Science, Energy and Technology Daryl Vaz piloted the regulations in Parliament.
The regulations aim at digitizing, modernizing and transforming the electrical inspection process and seek to increase regulatory efficiency in relation to electricians.
Offenders can be fined or imprisoned for breaching certain offences outlined in the regulations.
Regulation 39 creates the offence where inspector certified premises that he has not visited or found to be in breach of the specification. A person who commits the aforementioned offence may be liable to a fine not exceeding $2 million and not exceeding 2 years.
It's also deemed an offence for a registered electrician who is also a licensed inspector to inspect or certify his own work or modification. A person who engages in this practice may be liable to a fine not exceeding $5 million or imprisonment not exceeding 2 years. The regulations clarify, however, that a registered electrician can be authorized to also carry out functions as a licensed inspector. Minister Vaz says persons can also be fined up to $5 million or face imprisonment not exceeding 2 years for working without a license or being registered or for connecting to the country's electricity system without a compliance certificate. The Gun Court Division of the island's judiciary system is on course to completely clearing its case backlog by June of next year. Chief Justice Brian Sykes says the reports indicate that the Gun Court has been performing well due to increased focus on hearing date certainty and reducing the number of matters set per day.
So what that means is that by June 2021, the cases that will be tried are cases that came into the court either in late 2020 or early 2021. So that is something of significance that is happening there.
Justice Sykes was speaking recently during a conversation with the judiciary. The Gun Court is the branch of the judicial system that tries criminal cases involving possession or illegal use of firearms or ammunition. And finally, the Transport Authority is extending its deadline for the submission of police records for new applicants to December 31, 2020. This means persons who wish to access any of 80 reopened taxi routes across the island will have 6 additional weeks to submit their police records after the initial November 20 closing date. The authority says extending the deadline for police records is to facilitate the online appointment system, which is now being used at the Criminal Records Department. Applicants are asked to call 888-991-5683 for further clarification. Meanwhile, the Transport Authority is reiterating that it will not accept liability for any loss or injury caused to those who do not utilize its official channels for doing business. And that's it for JI's News today. I'm Lorraine Mendez. Thanks for watching.
I'm deeply concerned by the number of Jamaicans killed on our roads. Safety on our roads is our responsibility. Jamaicans, drivers, passengers, motorcyclists, and pedestrians, slow down. Observe the rules of the road. Be courteous. Drive defensively. Be considerate. Buckle up. Wear a helmet. The careless overtaker is only rushing to the undertaker. Not observing the rules of the road could cost you your life and that of your loved ones. I encourage all road users to take special care as we use public thoroughfares. The life you save may be your own. Remember, your family wants you to arrive alive.
Next, a recap of Prime Minister Andrew Holness's engagements over the past week.
$2 billion in damage to infrastructure from heavy rains, curfew and other COVID-19 prevention measures extended, and phased reopening of face-to-face classes starting November 9. You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Anthony Morgan. Last Tuesday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness updated the nation on the extent of damage caused by heavy rains associated with Tropical Storm Zeta. Addressing the House of Representatives, he revealed that a preliminary estimate by the National Works Agency (NWA) was pointing to approximately $2 billion, which would likely increase after a full assessment was completed. Mr. Holness said money to address the damage would be reallocated from each ministry, and the process would be supervised by the Ministry of Finance.
So at this time, we will budget to expend $1 billion to directly address damage due to rains, and this is to be used directly by the NWA according to areas of greatest national need and strategic importance to the productivity of the economy.
According to Mr. Holness, priority will first be placed on clearing blocked roads, cleaning heavily silted drains and patching main thoroughfares. This will be supported by an early start to the annual mitigation program, which usually coincides with the Christmas period and covers debushing, drain cleaning and patching of roads across all 63 constituencies. In addition to the impact on roads maintained by the NWA, it's estimated that about 60% of parochial roads were affected.
The estimate is being finalized, but preliminary indications are that the damage to parochial roads and drain networks will run in excess of $700 million.
As part of measures to recover from the impact of heavy rains, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says each constituency will be given $1.5 million to assist with repairs to housing infrastructure damage. This money is to come from the Housing Fund. In addition,
we will give each constituency an allocation of $1.5 million from the Ministry of Labour and Social Security for rehabilitation grants for the neediest cases that are brought to the attention of the MP. So, in effect, constituencies will have $3 million early response fund.
While speaking in Parliament Tuesday, Prime Minister Holness also addressed the long-standing waterlog issue on Marcus Garvey Drive caused by an insufficient drainage system. He said funds would be allocated for work to begin in 2021.
We will try to program this in our next year's budget, because we realize that this is critical. And the flooding that you are seeing, it's not just impacting the Marcus Garvey Drive, but all the roads that lead onto it, which would include the Hagley Park Road and the roads leading onto that.
Mr. Holness said a study done by SIA Engineering Company estimated the drainage project to cost $1.2 billion. He further outlined that a national drainage study supported by the Inter-American Development Bank indicated that a main drain was needed to channel water from the Tinselpen Marcus Garvey Drive areas into the sea.
It would play a similar role and function as the Sandy Gully does. Yes, that was built over 50 years ago. And we haven't built a drain of similar proportions since.
A day before his address to Parliament, the Prime Minister assured persons who had been affected by the recent flood rains that government would be acting swiftly to mobilize resources for their assistance.
I want to assure those who are affected that the government will be acting swiftly and mobilizing resources quickly to, as best as possible, help to alleviate any dislocation and suffering that may be taking place now.
Prime Minister Holness said he would be going on an island-wide tour to get a first-hand view of the damage. He also expressed condolence to the family of Romeo Leachman and his daughter Sanika, who perished when their house in Shooters Hill, St. Andrew collapsed due to land slippage associated with the heavy rains.
The government is deeply saddened by this tragic event, and again we offer our condolences to the family and to the community.
Mr. Holness was speaking at a service commemorating the 109th anniversary of the birth of Jamaica's second Prime Minister, Donald Sangster. On Wednesday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness updated the government's COVID-19 control measures during a virtual press briefing. The island-wide nightly curfew of 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., which would have expired on October 31, will continue until November 16. However, the special curfew order for Raytown in Kingston and Cornwall Court in St. James remains at 6 p.m. to 5 a.m. until November 6. The requirement for taxi operators to carry one less passenger than stipulated by their license will also remain in force until November 16. The stay-at-home order for persons 65 years and older will continue until November 30, along with a ban on funerals, parties, and other such events. Burials will continue to be allowed with a restriction of no more than 15 persons.
The current protocols under the controlled re-entry program for both residents and visitors remain until November 16, 2020, while the requirements for pre-testing and quarantine remain the same. We are implementing various operational improvements to streamline the processing of arriving passengers at our airports.
The Prime Minister stressed that the country was not yet out of danger, but said the measures were working to slow the spike in new COVID-19 cases. With the announcement of a phased opening of 17 schools on November 9 for face-to-face learning and teaching, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the aim is to get children back into the classroom safely.
We have to therefore move very quickly to a solution where we can safely return children to the classroom. And it is not something that we are proposing to do overnight, but to do it in a strategic, well thought out way which protects both the teacher and the children and the parents, and at the same time prevent any exponential spike in our numbers.
The pilot reopening will be from November 9 to 20 among 12 primary and 5 secondary schools across 9 parishes. They are located in Clarendon, Manchester, Portland, St. Anne, St. Elizabeth, St. James, Westmoreland, St. Thomas and Trelawney. Early in the week, as he commemorated the 109th anniversary of the birth of Sir Donald Sangster, Mr. Holness revealed that the family home of Jamaica's second Prime Minister would soon be restored as a National Heritage Site. The work will be done by the Ministry of Culture.
This will be done under the Jamaica 60 legacy projects. Jamaica 60 being just around the road. And so Minister Grange, I know you have extensive plans to celebrate Jamaica 60.
Before closing out his week, Prime Minister Andrew Holness had a few courtesy calls. On Wednesday, he met with Her Excellency Marian Van Steen, the new European Union ambassador to Jamaica. Prime Minister Holness said Jamaica would continue to foster strong partnership with the European Union with a view to deepening and strengthening our firm cooperation. Later that afternoon, the Prime Minister met with 3 main contract carriage operators within the tourism industry, Juta, JCAL and Maxi Tours. He hailed them for their innovativeness and creativity in weathering the first phase of the COVID-19 pandemic, while volunteering some of their buses to carry nurses to and from work.
What they have placed on the table with us is no different from what other businesses are going through. Even in the midst of this crisis where people are losing and facing difficult times, as a nation, we have these very good stories of people showing a great level of social responsibility and corporate responsibility in playing their part in ensuring that as a nation we can get through and pull through this pandemic.
And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us again next time for more of the news stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
Keep we island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it. Keep we island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it.
No dash no paper, no dash no plastic. Dispose your garbage responsibly. No know how to recycle, learn it quick. And if you drop it, better pick up every piece of it. Plastics last forever, don't forget the bits. Cause when them touch the street, them end up in the sea. Collect pan the reef where they fish them feed. And when you want seafood, I eat your
Keep
eat.
we island clean, so clean. From the peaks to the beach, so clean. No dirty up Jamaica, please don't do it. No dirty up Jamaica. No dirty up Jamaica. No dirty up Jamaica. No dirty up Jamaica.
No, son. A verb is an action word.
Parents need to become more involved in their children's education.
Parents are the first and in many cases the most important teachers.
Read with your children. Review their schoolwork. Visit their school.
Tapping and rapping and slapping, I said.
Nice! High five! Woo!
A good education will never decay.
As the country battles COVID-19, justices of the peace are being called on to help enforce health and safety protocols. But how much do you know about our JPs?
When you offer your service across Jamaica, it is absolutely important for you to be fair-minded. Ensure that fair play at all times is displayed, a person dispensing justice, ensuring that peace is maintained across Jamaica. To assist in solving the many problems that we are encountering in Jamaica.
We see them all over the country. We know their names. We employ their services for signing important documents, among other things. But do we know the extent of their functions, or how one even becomes a justice of the peace? Come, watch as we open the gates to the historical peacekeepers of our nation.
I'm appointed through the Ministry of Justice, and as a JP, you have to be very, very confidential. So people can come to you and they can confide in you with whatever, and you can be that person that they can talk to. You have to be a person of integrity, a person who is an unquestionable background.
You're joining a vocation that has been in existence and started from the 12th century. From 1195, the king, known as King the Lion-Hearted, said to the knights, we need distinguished persons to operate in boroughs, communities, right across England. So find some persons who can keep the peace. Some from 1195, over 800 years ago, persons who were appointed were known as keepers of the peace. It was only in the 14th century that the term justice of the peace became the JP that you are now.
Ministry of Justice call us peacekeeper, and people do call us peacekeeper because we do keep the peace. Some of our duties that I perform, I witness documents for people, I do recommendations for some of the youths who want a job. I also do recommendations for persons who want to be surety to bail another person. So there are multiple things that I do as a justice of the peace.
The role of a JP is a voluntary one. So these officers are not to accept cash or any form of reward for the work done in their capacity as JPs.
It's something that you will do out of your heart. You have to do it as a person. You have to do it as a Jamaican. You have to love your country. And I believe that we have to stop asking the question what our country can do for us, and to want to help to change our country, to change the justice system.
From there, the steps to become a justice of the peace are fairly simple. You must be a Jamaican citizen residing in the country during the time of appointment. You must be able to read and speak English fluently. You must be able to communicate and interact at all levels with all types of people. You must be a person of undeniable integrity who commands the respect of the local community. And you must be a person who has offered voluntary service to the community and the country by extension, while indicating the potential for continued service. But always remember, as a JP, you're offering a very valuable service to your country.
It's a fulfilling job, but it's also a tiring one. So I want to say to fellow justice of the peace out there, please, do it for the love. As what they say, do it for the love, not for the likes. You understand me? Make sure you're doing your job correctly. You signed up for a position to help people, help people.
Practice good hygiene by washing your hands frequently using soap and water. Here's how you should do it while conserving water. Turn on the tap to wet your hands, then turn off the pipe. Lather your hands and the tap with soap. Turn on the tap and wash your hands, back, front, and in between fingers. Use some of the water to wash off the tap, then turn it off. Dry your hands with disposable hand towels. If you don't have running water, use a hand rub containing 62% or more alcohol. If hand sanitizers are not available, rubbing alcohol, Dettol, white rum, or household bleach will do the trick. And if all else fails, let hand washing and the handling of potable water be a two-person event. Each person will take turns pouring and washing hands with sitting water. Now is a good time to consider installing a tap on your containers to reduce the risk of water contamination. Faucets can be easily attached to drums, buckets, or 5-gallon water bottles. And to ensure that the outside of the containers are clean when recapping, disinfect it with hand rub containing alcohol that's 62% or more. The 5 R's of water conservation are also necessary to practice. Reduce water wastage by investing in water-saving devices. Reuse water at least twice before discarding. Replace leaking pipes, faucets, and other plumbing equipment. Recycle wastewater and use it for gardening, car washing, or cleaning of public spaces. And reclaim water through rainwater harvesting. We all must play our part to ensure there's water to combat the coronavirus and stave off prolonged drought.
You've reached the final page of the magazine. Thanks for being with us on today's journey. Another Jamaica Magazine unfolds tomorrow. So come back, same time on this very same station. Until then, click on our social media pages for more information. While there, please subscribe to our pages and click that notification bell so you can stay in the know. I'm Adrian Atkinson, encouraging you to stay safe.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.